Hey, it's Bob. Thanks so much for joining me for another chance to learn from successful entrepreneurs up to great things in our world. Today, I want to introduce you to Igor Kheifets, the author of List Building Lifestyle and the host of the List Building Lifestyle show. Igor's expertise in email strategy and affiliate marketing fueled his achievement as the #1 Leadpages affiliate for 2022. In today's episode, we dig into the impact online marketing has had on his family, how to leverage email in your business, and how to use email solo ads to take control of the growth of your income. As always, check out the transcripts, resources, and takeaways shared in this episode in our show notes at leadpages.com/podcast. Now, let's get into the conversation. Igor, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of The Lead Generation.
My pleasure. It's great to be here, and I'm really, really excited about this.
Excellent. So we have a lot of really fun, engaging kind of conversation, I'm sure, that we'll be having around email list building, around different techniques of affiliate marketing and such, because you're a master at that. Before we get into that, though, I'd love to get a high-level answer to one of my favorite questions, which is, what's one way that you transform the lives of your clients?
Oh, this one's real simple. You see, I'm a big believer in the idea that your income should not be tied to your time, should not be tied to how many hours you work. Because, when we get into high school, get out of high school, and step into the path to adulthood, we're already buying into the idea that our time is worth X. And if we're a low-level person, then it's a low number. If we're a high-level person, it's a high number. But I'm a believer in the idea that this is not a great way to measure your worth, and this is not a great way to define your income, because there's always going to be a limit to how many hours there's going to be in a day and how many days in a week or a month or a year you're actually going to be able to work. Whether it is because you don't like what you do, or whether it is because you got sick or whatever. Right? I believe that your income should not be tied to the amount of hours you work. So that's why I've devoted my life to mastering the concept of building money-making systems. And that's what I help people do. I help them transition from a job income to a leveraged online income, or if you will, a lifestyle income, where you can structure your income around your lifestyle and not vice versa.
Yeah, and you're very good at that, and I know that a lot of people listening are going to enjoy some of the tips you're going to share in just a moment. I'd like to go back a few years, though, pre-2010, maybe even earlier. You have a very interesting life story in your book, List Building Lifestyle. You talk all about it, but just a kind of a short version. I know that you were born in Ukraine. You went to other countries. What are some of the lessons you learned as you moved from a couple of different places where things were not as rosy as they are for you today in Canada?
Yeah, and I really, truly did not appreciate just how bad things were until I moved to Canada, where, the first thing I noticed when I moved to Canada is that there's no tension here. One thing you notice if you live in Ukraine, or another country I lived in for a very long time, is Israel. I was basically born and raised in Ukraine until I was 12, and from about 12 till about 28, 29, I lived in Israel. And in both countries, that's pretty similar, where the tension, it's in the air. You can really cut the air with a knife. Like there's even when I used to go to a shopping mall, and I would go into the bathroom, and I would stand in front of the urinal, right? I would always be looking over my shoulder like that, because I always wanted to be ready in case something's gonna go off, because it was very, I want to say, not unusual for people to get shot in public places, for a suicide bomber to go off in a public place, for all kinds of stuff to happen. In fact, I was involved in a terrorist attack one time when I was in a bus going into the bus station. It was a big bus station, and about maybe 200 meters, maybe 300 meters away, on the other side of the bus station, there was a suicide bomber that went off and killed a couple of people with the explosion. And we felt it, as we entered the bus station. So it was very, very common. And so when I moved to Canada, I realized just how calm and peaceful the life over here is. and just how I spent pretty much most of my life living in a stressful day-to-day existence, which actually ended up transferring over to everything that I've done, whether it was income related or not. That stress follows you everywhere. You really don't relax. Like if you're at home, right? So I'm at home with my wife and my kid, and then there's a siren going off, alerting you that there's a rocket heading somewhere in the area, somewhere within like 100 kilometer radius. You're like, going back to sleep is going to be very, very difficult. So it's just a normal day to day life for me at the time, and I'm really happy to have eliminated that issue from my life by moving myself and my family to Canada.
Yeah, and obviously the world is still in a bit of a precarious spot, so hopefully we can get some of those things resolved here in the new year. Let's talk to our main topic today, which is around business growth. Obviously, there's a particular style that you love to lead with, which is both creating a course, but mostly affiliate marketing. Talk to people who are in the lead generation about affiliate marketing, just kind of to make sure people understand what it is. I think a lot of people do have a pretty foundational understanding, but from your perspective, why is affiliate marketing such a really key area of the revenue streams that you like to build up?
Well, the reason I love affiliate marketing is because I can make half the money off of a sale of a product, and I don't have to deliver on any of the headaches for that product. For example, let's take Leadpages. It's a great example. Leadpages pays out a really sweet commission, and also a recurring commission to that. So I not only I make a commission when I refer somebody to Leadpages, but I'm also getting paid over and over again for as long as they stay a member. Now, that allows me to build passive income. But in addition, it allows me to profit from promoting a product that I essentially can't build myself. I mean, the amount of money and effort that goes into building something like Leadpages is probably way beyond anything that I'm willing to endure, as well as the knowledge, of course, and the architecture. Like, there's no way I'm building something like that. But it still allows me to profit from that product existing in the marketplace while adding value to the people to whom I promote this product. So affiliate marketing, the beauty of affiliate marketing is you can build an incredible income. And I'm talking a large income. I know some affiliates making over $100,000 per month, not a year, per month, without owning any of your own products, which is not very different from, say, if you owned a shop and let's say you owned a computer store, right? Or a smartphone store. Like, you don't have to produce or manufacture phones or computer hardware to actually, make money, right? You can sell other people's products. It's a lot more difficult to set up. When it comes to setting up a shop, you need licenses, you need, to rent a space, and there's a whole bunch of headaches. But with affiliate marketing, you can start with nothing from your laptop and be making more than the shop owner within the span of weeks, maybe months, without having to take any of the risks. And you can do it from anywhere in the world. In fact, if you wanted to just be a nomad and move around the world, or maybe if you wanted to live in a warm place instead of a cold place, you could literally pack your bag, move, and your income wouldn't get hurt. So, for example, when I immigrated from Israel to Canada 5 years ago, it was December 2017 that I immigrated. What ended up happening is in the first 2 months, I barely got any work done. It was just all about setting my life from scratch, right? It was getting the driver's license, the insurance, getting a place to live, etc. And I barely worked in that time. And what's interesting is that my income didn't drop. It didn't grow, but it didn't drop either because of all the different income streams that I set up thanks to affiliate marketing, including passive income streams that continued to pay me commissions month after month, even if I wasn't working at the time. And that's really in my opinion, the big advantage of building systems versus trying to build a hourly income or trying to improve your skill set and become a higher paid skilled worker. The beauty of it is at some point, the skilled worker is going to want to take a break, or they will need more money, but they will not be able to invest more time. While for someone like myself who builds systems, right? I can continuously scale what I'm doing if I want to make more money, but not work more hours. So that is why also I'm a great believer in having an email list.
Yeah, and I want to dig into that in just a moment, but I hear something about what you're saying here that I'd love to clarify, and that is how much of this are you doing absolutely on your own versus having a team? And I think it'd be helpful if we went back to when you immigrated to Canada. Did you have any team at all? And then to this day, what does your team look like?
Yes. So when I started this and all the way until I was making $10,000 a month, I didn't have a team. It was just a one-man show, one-man operation. And, I was working around the clock. I'll be honest with you. I was very ambitious, very aggressive. And the moment I figured out that I could make money in a certain way, I just put all my attention into it. Now, I wasn't as smart back then as I am today in terms of automation, in terms of setting up systems. A lot of it was still manual labor. It was just me kind of doing a lot of repetitive stuff. But as soon as I got educated a little bit about getting rid of the repetitiveness in my life and either using software or using cheap labor to outsource it, that's when my business really took off. And I was able to not only claim a much higher income and scale from 10K per month to 40K per month. And the day my daughter was born in November 2012, I scaled to 80K per month, and I just continued to scale since then. That's when I was also able to regain my time, because what I've discovered along my journey is that you can only make so much if you apply the concept of hard work. You know how they say you should work really hard, you should wake up every day, you should work really hard. I used to believe that, and I used to feel guilty if I wasn't working very hard. Like I would intentionally take on massive amounts of work, thinking that's what's going to lead me to a much greater income, to a much greater prosperity, if you will, right? But what I found is I was working, and I was working really hard, and I was working even harder some days, and then I would go on vacation with my wife, and I would keep working very hard on vacation, and we would get into fights. Why do you keep working so hard? It's like, well, because I got to keep this business running. And I was like very righteous about it too. But then I realized it became a bottleneck. At some point, after crossing about $100,000 to $150,000 a month, I realized that working hard is a disadvantage, and that the only way to scale beyond that would be to figure out ways to work smart, where one action you take can have a tremendous impact on your day-to-day existence, right? So, for example, shifting from promoting an affiliate offer that is designed to pay you one time to promoting an affiliate offer that is designed to pay you every month, or shifting from an affiliate offer that is built to pay you $50 a sale or $30 a sale to an offer that has multiple price points and allows people to buy in at, say, $1,000 level, so you get paid a $500 commission for the same effort. Because it takes just as much effort to make a $100 sale as it does to make a $1,000 sale. Literally just as much. You still need to put together a landing page. You still need to take people to that website so they can see the offer. You still need to make a compelling sales argument and a presentation, right? It's all still the same, but you could be getting paid a much larger commission. So this could be the difference between, say, promoting, a piece of software that pays out, say, $15 a month versus promoting the exact same software, but pushing people to get the annual package that pays you a lot more money up front. In fact, a funny story, back in December 2018, I launched a product that continues to make me money to this day, but I launched it on December 31st. Okay, I'm not even making this up. Like, this is for real. December 31st at noon Eastern, I launched this product. So this is New Year's, right? People are supposedly not paying attention to offers. Supposedly everyone's out there partying and etc. So I launched this offer, And in the next 72 hours, it was 72 hours, so it's like December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd, we close the offer. I make $100,000. Now, here's an interesting part about that. The offer was $97 a month, but there was an upsell for $697 a year and one more upsell for $997 one time. So what I've done there by having multiple offers in my funnel is I was able to increase the average customer lifetime value, or the average transaction size, from just 97 to a multiple of that. And as a result, even though I only referred so many customers to that offer, I ended up making over $100,000. So again, this is leverage. This is how you work smarter versus working really, really hard and trying to get like 1,000 sales at 97 in order to make 100 grand, right? And instead, getting say a couple hundred sales or 100 sales, but having those upsells in place and therefore making 100 grand with much less effort.
Yeah, and I love that you're speaking too around coming to the awareness of this lifestyle that you can have instead of just working hard. And you mentioned a little bit about family. I know you and I both have a couple kids and great family life. Give us an example of something that you've done in the last few months that your present day Igor, now that with the rewards that you've built for yourself, you're able to take some time and spend it with your crew.
Well, first off, so we're recording in the beginning of 2023. On New Year's Day this year, well, now this last year, on December 31st, 2022, I pretty much stayed home. We watched some Home Alone with the kids. We had a nice dinner. Then, of course, obviously, we unpacked some presents later. But, I probably spent a good 5 or 6 hours playing Call of Duty right here at my desk where I got the gaming station as well. So all while I made $20,000 in gross revenue in my business in that day without touching it. So seeing something like that is really tremendous for me, because it takes a few years for the brain to catch up with the reality. I used to not believe. I used to preach passive income, but not really truly take it on and truly believe it, because I was still stuck in the mind of having to work to sustain the success that I've built. But these days, it's becoming a lot more evident that the more leverage points I create in my business, the more I can enjoy this time for myself, regardless of what I choose to do it, whether it's playing video games or doing something like this. So this is a comic book that's called Erica and the Missing Birds, and this is Erica, and this is my daughter, Erica. So I ended up basically taking the time to make a comic book where my daughter saves the day and saves all the birds in town that were stolen by 3 guys who wanted to be nasty and evil and wanted to get back at the mayor. So I had to write the script. I had to plan it out. I had to get the artist, obviously pay the artist, because this whole thing cost me about $1,600. But the fact that I have the mental bandwidth, the time, and the money to do stuff like that for my daughter to help and build her self-image and self-esteem, I take extreme pride in that. Like I'm not proud, or I don't brag to people that I drive a Porsche. For example, like I drive a Porsche Panamera GTS. It's not the world's most expensive Porsche. It's decent, but I drive a 2013 anyway. So right now its value is about, I don't know, maybe $50,000 Canadian. It's not an extremely expensive car. Anyone who really wants it can afford it. But, when I bought it, it was nice. It's like, oh, nice. I can drive a Porsche. That's great. But I take extreme pride in doing something like that. In fact, I like the process so much that I ended up creating 3 of them. And the one I loved the most was the third one, where my daughter fights this guy. His name is Zorg. He's an Oreo cookie monster who comes to zombify people by having them eat Oreo cookies and turn them into zombies because of all the sugar. So this one comes with an educational message of, don't eat sugar because you'll turn into a zombie and have diabetes and stuff. So what's really interesting, it didn't put her off from eating Oreo cookies. Now it's just fun for her. Now every time she eats Oreos, she's like, "Oh, I'm a monster. I'm zombie." That's like, damn it, you missed the point, girl. But now I'm working on the fourth one. The fourth one is going to be coming out soon, and in that one, now I'm incorporating my son, who's 4, and it's more of a down to earth kind of story. My daughter and my son fight for the right to play the iPad. My daughter wrestles him out of it, but then he frames her by cutting mom's brand new blue jeans. And then she has to go and investigate to redeem herself in the eyes of the mom. And then she also protects her brother from being punished. And, the family love wins, in this case. So, having the ability to do stuff like that, I'm so, so proud of, because when I was growing up, I have only one memory of playing football with my dad. Just one. Just one. In all the years of growing up. Now, this isn't to say that he couldn't. Like, he could. There were times when he could have easily played more with me, but I get it now. Like, he was probably, every time he would not work, he would just want to be left alone. Like, he would probably just be sort of kind of vegging out in front of a TV, just kind of trying to mellow out and trying to rest. He didn't have energy left to deal with the kids. So I really never wanted to be that kind of dad. I wanted to be a present dad, a dad that's involved, a dad that, when his daughter comes to him and talks to him about the video game she's playing, to actually be paying attention. And I'm not perfect. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I go into these weird modes when I'm a bit depressed. I had that since I was a kid. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of a condition on the spectrum, but I can't, I'm not going to go and get diagnosed to prove it. I don't think that would be good for me. But I do my absolute best to be present in their lives and to not only provide them with the opportunities, but also to make them realize that, yeah, dad is working. Dad is, is capable of putting in the hard work. He's capable of putting in the effort, and they see me work, like sometimes my son will come downstairs and they're like, "Hey, dad, let's play BeamNG." That's like his favorite game right now. And I was like, "Daddy's working in a few hours." Right. So I do draw the line when I need to, but I want them to know that dad's available, he's around. And I think that's a big deal when it comes to raising a healthy child.
Yeah, I think that's really wonderful. And for those who aren't able to see the video, you also have quite a collection of Manchester United gear. Can you share, what's the appeal for you of Man U? I'm not going to, critique it. I just am curious, how did you become a Man U super fan?
Yeah, well, it's not rational, naturally, like any sports, affection. I guess I really fell in love with them when I was watching Champions League reruns when I was a kid, and I remember the '99 final. That's the most famous game that they've ever had, where they scored like 2 goals in the last couple of minutes, and they won 2-1. Even though they were down and out the whole game, like they really didn't play well that game, but they won, and they became, I think, that day. That's the day they became the most, the biggest club in the world. And I actually have this jersey right here that I'm pointing to right now. That's a jersey from that game, signed by the 12 players that participated in that game, which is something I'm really proud of. This one right here is a Wayne Rooney signed jersey. So he's my all-time favorite United player. Yeah, it's just the passion for Man United is I think one of the few things that is still keeping my dad going as well. Like he lives back in Israel, so we actually FaceTime every time they play. We watch it together. So he's watching and FaceTiming, and I'm watching and FaceTiming, and it's really difficult to sync in the clock exactly. Sometimes he sees the goal first, and then he's like, "Yay!" I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, they scored." And sometimes he sees like the other team scoring first, and he's like upset. It's like, "Don't tell me, no, I don't want you to show it." But yeah, it's a passion that I have. It's one of the few passions that I do have, and I indulge in it. Now that I'm finally getting my Canadian passport, I'm finally going to see a game this year because Man U is going to be playing Barcelona. So I'm thinking of maybe going to Europe and seeing both Barcelona in Barcelona play Man U, and then go to Manchester, see them play Barcelona the next week, or vice versa, whichever is going to happen first. So, but definitely a big fan.
What a blast. I want to pause here for just a moment and ask you listening, has this episode already inspired you to want to ramp up your online marketing? Well, you're in luck because we have a special offer for our podcast listeners that will help you make your dream a reality. Get 30% off Leadpages when you start your free trial today. You can build high converting websites and landing pages in minutes or hours, promote your special offers with pop-ups and alert bars, and track your results with in-depth analytics. Go to leadpages.com/TLG30 to save 30% and start building your business. That's leadpages.com/TLG30 to get the deal before time expires. Now, let's get to the second half of the episode. All right, let's dive in now to how you were able to be so successful, and that is through the use of list building as a primary mode of growth. First of all, a lot of people are doing list building. They're having conversations about it. We have, of course, plenty of podcast episodes around this. What's your take on list building? Why is it so important? And then we'll get into some of the mechanics of how you build your list so quickly.
So a couple of things about list building that I think make it one of the most important things you can do and one of the most effective things you can do to tremendously grow your income and your freedom. First things first, you control it. You control your list. When somebody opts into your email list, you have their permission to email them. So regardless of the platform that you're using, you control the audience. You have the rights to use that audience, to communicate with that audience. Not something you can say about, say, Facebook or YouTube. Like, how many stories have you heard of people losing their YouTube accounts, people getting shut down on TikTok, people being censored on Facebook? I mean, if the president of the United States could have lost his Twitter account and Facebook account, then you and me, come on, it's so easy. But with an email list, no one can take it away from you. So once you got it, you got it. The other thing that is also extremely important about list building is that it gives you leverage. So think about it this way. Let's say I'm sitting down to write an email suggesting a product that you should buy, and I write it to you personally. It's going to take me about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes to coherently structure an email, unless I use, advanced tools like ChatGPT that can structure the email much faster. But let's assume we're still back in 2012 and we're still writing our own emails. So let's say it's going to take me 20 minutes. I wrote it, I used Grammarly, I fixed all the typos, etc., and I put the link to get the product. And I send you the email. Done. Now, imagine list building as doing the exact same thing, only when you hit the send button, the email that you send doesn't go out to one person. It can go out to pretty much everyone on your list. So whether you got 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 300,000 people, you invested the exact same amount of time and brain power to write the email and suggest a product, but the impact you're having is going to be multiples of that. In the same way that if you are, say, speaking or performing, let's say you're an artist, okay? Let's say you are a musician of some kind, a guitar player. And let's say you got a gig in a bar and there were 5 people in that bar that night. So you put in 1 hour performance in front of 5 people. That's your impact that night, 5 people. But let's say you put the exact same 1 hour performance in Madison Square Garden in front of, say, 40,000 people, or I don't know how many people it fits, maybe 20,000 people, whatever. Do you think you'll have a much bigger impact? Most likely. You'll make more money, even though you invested same amount of time and energy into putting together the 1 hour performance that you've had, right? So in the same way, as a content creator, as a content producer, as a product producer, as an affiliate marketer, as a service provider, if you can put out a piece of content and get it in front of, say, 5,000 people just like that without investing more effort, do you think your income will grow without you having to work harder? Yes, absolutely it will.
Yeah, and then by extension, talk to me about the recorded version of that, right? So what you're speaking to is another area I wanted to dig into, which is sending out email blasts or broadcast messages. Different platforms call it different things, but basically today is Wednesday, January 3rd, and I'm sending out an email and it goes to the people on my list today, and somebody joins my list in 5 minutes. They don't see that email. Versus the recorded version in your example, instead of a Madison Square Garden, they're now a Netflix special. It's recorded every time somebody goes through. You now have an autoresponder message that can come in. Where do you balance your content writing for emails that are going out to people right now versus adding to what I imagine is a pretty extensive autoresponder list of messages?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So my autoresponder sequence right now is well over 100 days. And that means that anyone who gets into my email list, depending on which page they come through, they now have like a whole pre-scheduled series of emails and different campaigns that go out. And these campaigns are pretty sophisticated too. There's like a 7-day special with discounts and bonuses. There could be a 48-hour, a dime sale, whatever. Like it's a lot that went into planning that over many, many years, of course. But you're right. Having full automation using with your email list means that somebody gets onto your website or capture page, they give you their email address, and now they go into a fully automated series of emails that you've written once, you load it into the software once, and they are now going to be triggered based on a condition such as how much time did they spend on your list. So they got on your list immediately, send them this email. Day one, after 24 hours passed, send them this email. In 72 hours after they join my list, send this email. In 96 hours, send this email, send this email. And so you can have an unlimited number of emails be sent to anyone who joins your list. And if you ever got on anyone else's list and you started getting emails from them every day, I assure you, they didn't just sit down and wrote them a minute before they sent them. Most of these emails were probably written many, many, many moons ago. And what's really cool is that you could have written an email 5 years ago and it will continue to make you money for as long as it keeps going out. Because, by reading an email, you won't be able to tell when was it written, unless it talks about an event that is irrelevant at this point. You know what I mean? Like if, let's say at the end of the last year, we had the whole FTX thing and in crypto where, an exchange went bankrupt, right? So naturally, if you write an email talking about, hey, did you hear last night the FTX exchange went bankrupt and yada, 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 you can't really use that in your sequence because it will become obvious that this email was written a long, long time ago. Instead, you need to kind of redefine or rewrite the introduction a little bit and say something like, on such and such date, there was an event that shocked the crypto world. One of the largest exchanges in the world, FTX, went bankrupt overnight, right? So again, you're not revealing that it happened last night, last month, whatever. You're not mentioning any particular giveaways as to, how long ago did that happen from the moment you're sending that email. And so this way, again, you wrote it years ago and it still makes you money. Like there's some sequences that I've literally created that, maybe in 6 months after coming to Canada, they're still going out automatically to make me money. That offer that I told you that I launched on December 31st, 2018, that offer and the emails I wrote for that offer are still in my autoresponder sequence, making me sales $97 at a time. So it's tremendous. It's the leverage and the automation will have a significant impact on your income.
Really cool. When you think about the time you spend today writing emails, what counterbalance do you do? Present day broadcast versus adding to or tweaking your autoresponders?
So I'm actually constantly looking for and checking out different things to mail to my list because I noticed that my audience loves a new thing. They're really aggressive and they love checking out what's working right now. I operate in a space where something that was working a month ago, and it's no longer relevant today. Some techniques that used to work last year can't work today, especially when it comes to social media. By the way, that thing changes so fast. So that's why I do create campaigns, or broadcast campaigns, or blasts, if you will, often. And any campaign that I see that works really, really well, what I do is I take it, I tweak it a little bit, so we remove anything that's a timestamp or otherwise would give away that we just created it, and I load it into the sequence, and I add it and I stack it into my sequence. So what I do, I basically treat my sequence as a way to continue to profit from campaigns that worked well that I created recently. And so what ends up happening is anyone who joins my list ends up going through these campaigns, and the winners continue to bring in the money, right? The ones who didn't work that well, I kind of brush it off. It's a test, didn't work. Okay, next.
Yeah, and it obviously pays off well. Now let's talk a little bit about how do you get them on your list in the first place. So I want to talk about traffic in a moment, but assuming somebody gets to your page in some fashion, you're giving away something in exchange for their email address. What are you finding working really well for you right now as your lead magnet, as a type of lead magnet that you're doing?
So there's two things that I'll say about that. First off, the idea that you have to give away something for free in exchange for an opt-in is not as black and white as it might first seem. Because I see a lot of people try to put together these giant, sexy opt-in bribes, but they end up building a list of freebie seekers. They end up building a list that's basically full of people who got on their email list just to get the free thing. And they either use the fake email or maybe used an email they don't check that they specifically have for the purposes of collecting free stuff. So not every lead magnet is worth using. Not every opt-in bribe is worth creating. And so the other thing I love to do is actually love to attract people based on a big idea. I love to attract people based on a new discovery rather than an actual giveaway. But if I have to give something away, it will be the what to do, or description of what but not how. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a realtor. And let's say I want to attract people who have properties to sell. So on my website, I will have a lead magnet that is, say, a 5-step checklist, or a 5-point checklist of the 5 mistakes that homeowners make that drive the price of their house down when they're trying to sell it. Now let's unpack this. So I'm basically describing the 5 mistakes people make, right? But I'm not going to say how to fix them. Meaning I will tell them what they're doing wrong, but I'm not going to tell them how to fix what they're doing. Now, if they're smart enough to figure out how to fix that and they want to do it themselves, awesome. I still provided value by making them aware of the mistakes. But, this way I'm educating, I'm giving value, but at the same time, by them going through the checklist, I am also positioning myself as an authority and as the source of, okay, how do I fix it? Because if I told you that you're making a mistake, you're going to ask me, how do I fix this mistake? Now, if you don't like the negative spin on it, you can actually do something like the 5 things you need to do in order to get above market value for your home when you sell it. Again, you can conceptually explain it. You don't have to give the actual solution. You don't have to give the how to walk through, because the how to walk through, you can do it with them or for them as a service provider. So these would be the sort of lead magnets, or these sort of bribes that I like to create, because what they do is not only they get me the person's email address, but they also move them towards me, towards hiring me on this timeline. If you imagine there's a timeline between when somebody discovers that they have a problem to the moment they hire you to fix it, right? I want to keep them moving on this timeline rather than collect some freebie and disappear. So this is the balance that you want to maintain. Now, the other thing I want to share is that one thing that I don't see list builders make is that I don't see them actually generate buyer leads. And I think that's a big mistake. I think a buyer lead or a buyer email subscriber is 10 times, at least 10 times more valuable than a non-buyer lead. And I think that's been one of the reasons why I've been a top affiliate for all these years.
Right. Can you unpack that a little bit? So again, we're talking about the traffic source in just a moment, but they come to your page and instead of something for free, you're asking them to purchase something. Is there a price point that you find as a sweet spot that leads into the best qualified folks for the rest of what you do?
Well, to be honest with you, the higher the price they pay, the more expensive the product, the better, right? It means that they are that much more committed to you and to the relationship with you. However, if let's say you've got something that you're selling that's say $500 or $1,000, and that's the purpose of building a list, you can actually create a super light or stripped version of that offer and sell it for $50, $10, $20, $97, $197. You can really play with the price points, but you could sell this cheap item in order to get people started with you, to get them to kind of put their foot in the door, because that item will allow them to check you out and be like, okay, let's see what this person's all about. And if they like what they purchase, then they can escalate with you further. So for example, I got a buddy of mine who used to have a big YouTube channel. Now he ain't got a big YouTube channel because it got shut down, and he's got a big list. And it's a list of guys, males, that are trying to be better at sex, at having sex, right? So he's teaching how to please a woman, how to be more effective in bed, right? And so this guy, what I like about him is that he's got a product range pretty much from the lowest prices all the way to the highest, right? He's got something as little as $17 all the way to $1,500 or $2,500. And what's really interesting is that he will actually push people to get started with his cheap products. Like, even if somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I've been following you for a couple of years, I really like your stuff, and I really want to get into this coaching program you've got, he's going to say, okay, ebook. And you'd be like, no. Say, okay, well, the best place to start is there. So he's kind of thinking in terms of like, what kind of structure or curriculum can I take people through to escalate them from a low price point to a high price point? And I really like that approach.
All right. Now, the big question, how do we get people to see our offers in the first place, whether they're going to sign up for free or they're going to pay us for it? I know the answer to this, of course, because you and I go way back, but a lot of people are talking about Facebook ads and TikTok ads and Instagram and all this other stuff. And you have a different approach towards putting some money in and getting a lot in return. Talk to us a little bit about your favorite way of driving traffic.
Yes, my favorite way of driving traffic is based on one simple concept. Everything I do is focused on building a list. My number one priority is to build a list, not even to make a sale. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm asking myself, what is the best type of person to put on my email list? What's the kind of person that will buy? What's the kind of person that will open my emails, click on my emails, receive my emails, read my emails, even if I send 2 a day? And the answer is, it goes back to a concept I learned from Gary Halbert by reading his letter, the Gary Halbert letter, which I highly recommend every business owner to read. And, Gary spoke about the way he selected lists for direct mail based on recency of purchase and frequency of purchase. And he's got this issue of his newsletter where he poses a question. He's like, if I needed to sell a Cadillac and I could only have one shot at selling this Cadillac, and I could pick any list or group of people to sell this Cadillac to, who's my best bet? What group of people or what persona is my best bet at selling this Cadillac? And the answer really surprised me at the time. He said, the best person to buy a Cadillac is somebody who owns 4 Cadillacs. Now, if you really think about it, it's so true. Because if somebody has a passion for buying Cadillacs, they're much more likely to buy a Cadillac than if someone who doesn't own a car or owns a car, but it's not expensive, or maybe owns an expensive car, but it's a Bentley. Therefore, he likes European cars and not American cars, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, If you want to sell something, get in front of people who are already buying what you're selling, even if they're buying a lot of it. I'll give you an example with my wife. My wife, she'll buy pretty much any face related cream or glop or mask or, magic thing that you will put in front of her. Even though she's got a ton of them already, she'll continue buying them, right? Is it rational? No. But will she buy the next one when she sees one? She absolutely will. I assure you. And so I'm the same way. I've got an iPhone, a MacBook, an iPhone, an iPad, another MacBook. I got Mac stuff. Who's the best prospect to buy MacBooks and iPhones and iPads? It's people who already own the previous generation. That's why, Apple figured it out to a point where they now no longer put chargers and headphones into the boxes, because they know that almost anyone who's buying their stuff already has a charger and already has some headphones from the previous iPhone that they've had or the previous MacBook that they've had. For that reason, if I wanted to get someone on my list about a particular, that particular niche or topic where I'm operating, I'm actually going to go and hunt for lists of people in that niche and try to get an email out to those lists, inviting those people to get into my list. And this is called email drops or solo ads. It's when you find somebody who owns a big list that fits your demographic and profile and say, hey, I want to rent your list for one-time mailing, and you will mail your list as yourself, endorsing me and telling people to go check me out by sending them to my capture page where they can get on my list. And that's what solo ads are. And that's a strategy that really put me on the map. It's the one with which I've experienced my first big success. And I've been really just dialing that in since.
Yeah. And to be clear, you're not buying a list from somebody, you're renting that list, right? So can
Exactly.
you clarify that difference real quick? Because I want to make sure people don't go down a different pathway thinking that they heard incorrectly from this podcast.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a great distinction. You're not buying that list, and you can't even say that. I don't think it's right to say that you're renting that list. It's more about negotiating with the list owner who's already mailing that list on daily or weekly basis to endorse you to the list one time, to send out an email to their list one time and say, hey, I just came across this resource by my friend Igor. You should go and check it out over here. It's for you if you want to X, Y, and Z, and if you're tired of X, Y, and Z problem. Link. And he sends or she sends people to your capture page so you can then, so people can then opt in to your email list so you can mail them. So yeah, it's not really buying a list as much as it is in the same way, I guess, if you were to get an ad on the radio, right? So if you ever listen to the radio and there's like an ad that comes up for like a jewelry shop or some hardware store, right? It's basically an endorsement. But instead of like it being on a radio or on TV, it's in an email. The whole email is the endorsement.
Yeah, and I think to clarify that, what I think of is in our local Minnesota, Minneapolis area, we have a radio station called KDWB. And it's not just that there's an ad on the radio, it's the talent in the morning show. So Fallon is one of the local DJs. She reads a spot and says, hey, I've been using this product for such and such a long time, or I want you to go check this out. So it's a trusted person sending that endorsement. It's not just them playing your ad to them. I think that's a big distinction because it has credibility boosting that you're leveraging, which I think is really important. A question that people probably have right now, which is if they're allocating budget for the next year on advertising and they want to steer some of that budget towards solo ads, give us an idea of a general cost per click or cost per lead that you love to shoot for when it comes to getting a good list to work with.
The thing about solo ads, they can be a bit of a wild, wild west. They can vary, and it will vary based on a few factors. The size and reputation of the list, the quality of the list, or how much that quality is perceived by the person who owns that list. So this is to say that it's on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes you will find traffic that's really, really cheap compared to the value you're getting. You can be getting them at 30 cents per click, and it will be super legit traffic. the same quality or higher quality than you would have gotten from other advertising sources, and they're already primed to opt into a list. Another thing you'll notice, by the way, that an opt-in rate, or the rate with which people will get on the list when it's a solo ad traffic, will be much higher compared to, say, Facebook ads or YouTube or Google ads or whatever else, because these people have already been primed for the media. A radio listener will continue listening to the radio, and if you tell them go check out this other radio station, they'll go and check it out. But if somebody doesn't listen to the radio, suggesting to them a radio station isn't as effective because they don't have a habit of listening to the radio. So in the same way that if someone has a habit of email, checking email and wanting to receive offers in email, they'll be much more likely to give you their email. On the lower end, you can find them as little as 30 cents per click, and therefore your cost per lead can be as little as 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents per lead, per actual email address, which is, again, nothing. It's really, really cheap. While, say on niche, you'll be paying like $5 or $7 or $10 per click and getting an opt-in for every 5 clicks. That's like an actual average. You can go and look it up if you ever ran ads on Google, As far as on the higher
that's if you're
end,
good.
that is if you're good. On the higher end, it can be more expensive. Like just recently, last month, I've inquired with a real estate info marketing list that can produce 5,000 clicks from a single email, or 3,000 clicks from a single email, and they wanted something like $8,000. So while the cost per click is relatively low compared to other sources, they want you to buy it in bulk because their list is so big. I wasn't able to negotiate a smaller batch or a smaller portion, unfortunately. So it varies, right? You shop around and you find what's working for your budget. But what's really good about this is that you still almost always end up paying way less than you would with cold media.
Yeah, that's great to know. Well, we're running out of time, so I think people who would love to learn more about going forward with solo ads would learn a lot from you, Igor. Obviously, people who listen to this podcast will enjoy your podcast, but I imagine you also have, besides your podcast, another access point for them to learn some more. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to share my book, and I want to invite you to go and get this book at igorsbook.com. The book's called List Building Lifestyle Confessions of an Email Millionaire. And it's actually it's a tiny one. It's 100 something pages, so you can read it, in a really long trip to the bathroom, or just in a lazy afternoon, or maybe just over a cup of coffee if you're a fast reader. And if you go to igorsbook.com, what I will do is, if you chip in on shipping and handling with me, I will send you the physical version. I'll print it at my cost and I'll send it to you. I'll give you the Audible professionally narrated version of the book for free. I'll give you the digital version you can read on your computer or mobile device for free. I will also throw in over $3.2 thousand in bonuses that include templates for capture pages that include, by the way, for lead pages too, right? Not just any templates, but for actual lead pages templates. Some email templates. I'll include traffic training on how to generate traffic, and just give you a lot of stuff that you can start using right away to build your list. Now, the reason I'm doing that is very simple, by the way. The reason I'm not telling you to go buy this book on Amazon, where you can buy it if you wanted to, if you're like a big Amazon fan, is because if you buy it on Amazon, I will not be able to get you on my email list. And I really, really want to get you on my email list. So I'm just ethically bribing you with over $3,000 worth of stuff for you to go and get it on my site at igorsbook.com for that very reason. And this is also going to be a great way for you and me to get a relationship going with just $10 investment, which is what you chip in on shipping and handling if you're in the US, or slightly more than that if you are in Canada or Europe or Australia. Unfortunately, nothing I can do about that. But I assure you, this is well worth your investment. And this is going to give you a very clear and simple understanding of the whole world of list building and of the solo ad strategy.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Igor. And as we wrap up, do you have a mantra or quote or something that you turn to when you run into roadblocks, as any entrepreneur does, that helps you get to the other side?
Yeah. this too shall pass. And so it's a story that I got told when I was a kid about King Solomon. I'm Jewish, so about King Solomon who went on and he asked somebody to do something for him that would make him feel happy when he's sad and make him feel sad when he's happy. And so this one guy came in and he was a jeweler. I don't know, like bad at pronouncing this, but he basically brings him this ring. Okay, and on the inside of this ring, it says in tiny little print, it says, "This shall pass." So many years, the king loved it. Many years go by, and anytime the king is happy, he looks at the ring. It's like, this too, this shall pass, and he's like, oh, okay. And anytime he's sad, he looks at it, it's like, this shall pass. It's like getting a little bit happier, and it worked for a long, long time. But then a great war started, and his son went to war and died, and the king was very sad for a long time. And he looked at this ring and it said, "This will pass." And he got so angry, he just threw it out. He just took it off and he just threw it away. But then after a few moments, he went up to the ring and he looked more closely on the other side of it somewhere, and it said, "This too shall pass," which made the king feel a little bit better, and he put it back on.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Igor, congratulations again for being our #1 affiliate at Leadpages for 2022. Really excited that we were able to have this conversation together for kicking off the new year. Good luck to you in the coming months, and thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait for 2023.